Hello YouTube, this is Asatsu 5 and yes, I'm reviewing a discontinued knife, and I'll explain why I'm reviewing a discontinued knife. Because one, it's a cool knife, two, you can get a custom version of this, and three, these knives are really sought after. You can buy them on eBay, and just talk about its pros and cons and help you decide if you want to go on eBay or maybe the Blade forums or get a custom one made, just to tell you its benefits. And this is the Ontario Bagwell Gambler. This was my first Ontario knife, and I shopped heavily to get this knife, and I lost several of them. I lost several Bagwell Bowies before I won this one on eBay. And so you've seen me test with this knife. I've chopped coconuts, bamboo, a back cut with it, or I did my version of a back cut. It's not a proper back cut that you would use in a fight, but you know, when you cut rope or bamboo, you're not necessarily using the same cuts that you'd use in a fighting situation. You're trying to get the most cut from your knife, so you're not going to be doing these very sophisticated type cuts. About the only cut, well, you have these big slashing chops, but you're normally not doing that in a knife fighting scenario. The snap cut you'll probably do a lot, but not quite these big wide chops that you see people do, like in the Cold Steel videos or even in my videos. There's nothing wrong with that. They're just showing out what that knife is possible to do. Is possible for that knife to do. They're pushing the limits of the knife to show you how good it is, and there's nothing wrong with that. So first off, let's take the knife out of its sheath. Like I said, I got this on eBay, and let's go over all the stats or specifications. This is the Gambler, featuring a 440A high carbon stainless steel. Which is kind of funny because, well, 440A is not like the best steel in the world. It's not bad. It's not 440C, it's 440A. So, but it's holding to 54 to 56 RC. It features a 9.37 inch satin blade, a 5.12 inch handle with a coffin shaped handle, and it has Bagwell's name engraved on the blade, the name of the knife in the escutcheon plate, and a level sheath that's 9 3/8 inches long, and the overall length is 14 5/8 inches. So yes, this is what you would call a fighting Bowie, a fighting knife. This Bowie is really designed for one purpose. It's not really a hunting knife. It's not a survival knife. It's more of a urban city Bowie knife, a knife that you would carry with you, concealed. You can carry these knives concealed, and you'll carry it with you to defend your life if you're ever in a dark alley and someone is trying to do bad things to you. So stay away from dark alleys, but that can happen anywhere else as well. But yes, this is a concealable fighting knife, and this is probably the smallest fighting Bowie that Bill Bagwell produces. In Ontario, they came out with two smaller versions of this knife, or two smaller Bowie knives. One was the Drifter. It was more of a San Francisco style Bowie, and one was the Plainsman. Both of those knives, Bill Bagwell would say, is not really a true Bowie, which is interesting because there is really no definition of what makes a knife a Bowie knife or not a Bowie knife. It's really up to the individual. Bowie knives are an enigma, and we don't understand them quite yet, because Bowie knives during the 1800s had so many shapes and sizes, from 4-inch bladed knives to 12-inch, and even cutlass size Bowie knives that were almost sword-like. So although Bill Bagwell doesn't consider anything smaller than 9 inches a Bowie knife, there was an argument saying that it is a Bowie knife. But this is the smallest fighting Bowie that Bill produces. So, and let me say this again, this is not a custom bagwell, this is the Ontario. And I wanted to compare it to the Cold Steel Laredo, which is still in production, but it has a 01 tool steel blade and a black micarta handle. And it no longer comes with a proper sheath. It comes with a Secure sheath, which is horrible for what don't get me wrong, it's good for military, but it's not good for what I need the knife to do. I need this sheath. So this knife no longer comes with a proper concealed carry sheath. But when you hold the two knives, and keep in mind there's a length difference, but that's not the main reason why, but there's a big weight difference. This bagwell is extremely light compared to this Laredo, and a lot of that has to do with how thick the blade is, which you can see that the Laredo keeps its thickness a little bit longer than the Ontario. You can also see that the Ontario is not as wide, and it has more of an extreme distal taper. So yeah, around the same point, this is still a little bit thicker than that one. That doesn't make the Laredo bad, and it doesn't necessarily, well, it kind of does. It makes the Ontario a superior fighting knife as far as its speed is concerned. It doesn't have the momentum that the Laredo has, but it has speed, and it has a superior point geometry, in my opinion, than the Laredo. So, but yeah, and I'm not ragging on the Laredo. This was my carry knife the last time I went to Arkansas. Carried it with me everywhere in town. No one never noticed. Went to restaurants, cigar lounge, all over town with this knife, and no one ever noticed. But this knife is not as wide and is not as long, and is super lightweight. This is a super carryable knife. This was going to be my next concealed carry knife in Arkansas, but I got a replacement for this. That's why I'm doing the review. But yeah, it was the sheath. I have the sheath somewhere. It comes with a proper sheath, a belt stud sheath. Also, this area is also known as the frog. This sheath doesn't retain quite as well. Let's see. See, it'll slide out. But you know what that also means? It's going to draw extremely easy without drawing your sheath out of your waistband. So, yeah, I love this sheath style. I wish more knives came with it, more fixed blade knives came with this type of sheath, if they're going to be used as a fighting knife. Or, yeah, a fighting knife. They should come with this type of sheath for civilians. Military, you don't have to worry about not scaring people. So, this sheath probably doesn't make as much sense. But, yeah, there's the escutcheon plate, says the Gambler on it. You've seen in my videos that this false edge can cut water bottles and meat very well. It's not necessarily gonna, cut, with by applying pressure and sawing with it, but this tip cuts extremely well, and this tip funnels. This is almost like a hawk bill, and it grabs, digs in, and cuts and tears all at the same time. I hate to use the word tear because the cut is very clean, and it does have a brass guard, brass pins, and if you want to, you can use it as a sub hilt or like this for whatever you want to use this for. I wouldn't personally use this grip in a knife-on-knife encounter because you're just asking for trouble, but you can do that because of the ricasso. Now, like I said, this knife is discontinued, and you can find it on eBay. Usually the starting bid is around $99, $100, and the bids can go up to $600, which is ridiculous because I didn't pay that much. I don't think that particular knife is worth $600, especially considering the knife that I got for less than that. And you can get a Hell's Bell for around that price. But hey, if people want to pay that, feel free to do it. I'm actually planning on selling this knife, and if I can sell it for $500, I got a super cool knife in mind for me to get and test out. And I would love to get that knife, but I would have to find some way of justifying it by selling some stuff. So that's why I'm considering selling this knife. But yes, this is super carryable, super concealable. It's not the fastest knife to draw. It's not like a waved knife. Some people say that fixed blades are faster. No, I think the Emerson Combat Karambit is the fastest knife you can have in a self-defense situation. Those other fixed blades are fast, but if you have this under your shirt, you have to clear your shirt, and with practice you can draw it fairly quickly, but it's not as fast as some waved knives. But the advantage you get with this is length, penetration power. It's technically not a double-edged knife. It has a false edge. If people get confused when people use the term false edge, they think it means fake edge. It does not mean fake edge. It means the edge is facing up. So let's just say this was symmetrical. This was a double-edged dagger. This would be my false edge. This would be my primary edge. And if it was symmetrical and it was a double-edged dagger and I faced this up, this would now be my false edge, and this is my primary edge. Now, in Bowie knives and other style knives, but mostly Bowie knives, when people refer to the false edge, they're talking about a sharpened clip that can cut with the back cut. So it's technically not a double-edged knife. A lot of swords have two edges, but they're not considered double-edged swords, like the cutlass and sables and stuff like that. So I wanted to get that definition out of the way. If you want to get this knife on eBay, I would say go for it. It's a good knife for that purpose. If you want to get this knife custom made from Bill Bagwell or from Jerry Fisk, who this isn't Jerry Fisk's design, but he can probably make one for you if you want to, and any other master bladesmith can probably reproduce a knife similar to this. Keep in mind the customs are going to cost a lot of money, probably over $1,000, which you know, is out of reach for a lot of people. I'd love to have one, but yeah, they're going to cost a lot. Now let's talk about the sheath. Let's talk about sheaths in general for Bowie knives. Let's say you got this knife and you're not really happy with how thick the sheath is, because leather is going to be relatively thick. So this is going to footprint a little bit more in your waistband than, let's say, a Kydex or Securex. Or let's just say you bought the new Laredo that does not come with the leather sheath. It comes with a Securex sheath that you can't conceal carry. There is another option for you. You can go to Mike Sowstry on RiverCitySheaths.com, and he will make a sheath called the Southern Comfort Sheath. It's the same concept as this, but it's Kydex or Securex, but it's the same sheath design. So you can put it in your waistband, draw the knife out very easily, and it's a lot thinner than this because it's made out of that thermoplastic. And I am at some point going to get one for my Laredo and my new Fighting Bowie, or relatively new Fighting Bowie. This is going to be the one that I carry next time I go to Arkansas. So yes, you can get a sheath for the new Laredo, or you can get an upgraded sheath for your bagwells or any other Fighting Bowie knife, or even if for your Taipan or your Randall knife or your any fighting knife. These Southern Comfort sheaths would be awesome for civilians. Like I said, military folk don't have to worry about that, but civilians, we can't just walk around with that wide open without people freaking out. So, anywho, let me show you my fighting Bowie, my newest fighting Bowie. I've showed this on Instagram a couple of times, but I haven't actually made a video with it yet, I don't think. It is the Ontario Bagwell Fortress. As you can see, it has kind of the Hell's Bell guard to it. Has a silver or satin blade, which is non-reflective, satin gold. The escutcheon plate is kind of reflective. It's a lot bigger knife, and I would say that between the two, I carried this one at a Renaissance festival, both openly and concealed. And I've carried this one concealed just a little bit, not much. But I can tell you that this one is a whole lot easier to carry. So if you have a smaller frame, maybe you're a woman that wants to carry a Bowie knife, or maybe you're just a very, very thin guy. I'm not saying you can't pull this off, but this is going to be a lot easier. So I'd say almost like this knife might almost be better for everyday carry. This one's going to have more firepower. I want to borrow a nothing fancy term, mobility. Firepower, mobility. So yeah, and this has the trapping guard with it, Spanish notch, awesome point geometry. So those are my 3 fighting Bowies that I own right now. I'm at some point going to sell this one because there's a knife I really want that is expensive, around the $500 mark, and I need to find some way to justify getting it. So there you go. That's my review of the Ontario Gambler. Hope you enjoyed the review. I'm Asatsu5, and I'm out.